All right, y'all. Navy SEAL exposes Secret Service mistake at Trump rally. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I can't speak to what the policy was, but I can speak to a connect who was on the ground, a connect to boots on the ground. And the word I got was on signal was, and I got photo, I think I shared one photo with you, that
Bruce Lawn.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with my friend Remy Adedoke, friend of the channel. We've had him on a couple times. Remy's background is he is a Navy SEAL, and he has done similar work to what has transpired with the attempt on the president in terms of protective detail. You put up a very interesting tweet that I wanted to go over here with you and get your insight as someone that comes from this background. So he said, lapses in security as an absolute understatement. Holy smokes. When doing PSD in volatile war zones, we were able to lock down roofs or avoid having principals in line of sight of multiple elevated positions. And that was the fraction of the bodies SSS had. So can you clarify this? It sounds like you're saying from your experience as a SEAL, you guys have been in situations with less resources, less bodies, and have been able to secure perimeters better than what we see transpire with the attempt on the president's life. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%. So when we were in countries, hostile countries, and we would have VIPs come visit us, and a VIP can be a senator, could be a congresswoman, could be a very high level general, and they wanted to go to a particular part of the battle space and check things out, or they wanted to go have a meeting with a sheikh or somebody in power. We would be tasked with what's called PSD, which is personal security, detachment, right? And we would essentially, or detail, and we would handle that security for them, right? And part of that is doing what's called a site survey. In my post, I labeled it a recon, which is the same thing, but it's a site survey. You're going to the beforehand, you're looking at egress points, you're looking at ways in, ways out, you're looking at like elevated structures, elevated areas in general, and you're trying to build out what your plan is going to be as far as moving the subject to the meeting location or the meeting spot and then moving the subject out. So a lot of our work is done up front. So all we have to do is execute on the objective, right? So it's like writing a script, right? The script is getting written, so all you got to do is go to set and shoot the script, right? But you also plan for contingencies as well. Because something can always go wrong, and 99% of the time, everything doesn't go as planned. So you have contingencies in place as well. And part of what we do is going back to the most important part of what we do is to make sure that a potential enemy or potential sniper doesn't have the high ground and does not have line of sight to the target. If we can't lock down every building in the area, which it can be likely in a lot of cases, right? Especially when you're in another country.
Hold on. That's a pretty crazy visual. Let me go back here. I showed a similar visual today, but this is a pretty crazy visual. So you've got counter sniper team 1, counter sniper team 2, unconfirmed. You have the sniper who was across the way, 130 yards. And then you had Trump here on the stage. Counter sniper team 1, and I've seen videos of these dudes seemingly looking at the sniper and not taking the shot. There's people in the crowd, multiple videos on the internet, people in the crowd who saw the ladder, who saw the dude on the building with the gun. So I'm assuming if people seen it from the crowd with the naked eye, the two snipers most likely saw it and for whatever reason didn't take action. Whether that's within their authority or not, I mean, you would assume it would be. They see a threat threatening the life of the president. You would think that they would take the shot. But it's just this whole situation, the more I look into it, the more sketchy it is.
In the area, which it can be likely in a lot of cases, right? Especially when you're in another country. What we will do is we will pick a specific route and go in a specific direction and allow the subject to exit in a way where they're not in the line of sight of a potential target, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a good example of that would be, and I'm just using just a basic example, if instead of having the subject exit their vehicle in front of Trump Towers, let's just use that as an example, get out of their vehicle and then go inside and do their business, right? And wave and shake hands and kiss babies. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going to do is we're going to go around to the back. There's going to be a garage. We're going to enter into the garage, go down. The entire garage area is going to be essentially locked down, and we're going to take them out of the vehicle and move them to where they need to go, right?
Yeah.
We are decreasing the line of sight significantly by doing that, right? Because sometimes you don't have the opportunity to, as I mentioned, lock down every high elevated position. But why? Because you don't have the bodies to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you might have a drone, which it was surprising that they didn't have drones up or helicopters up in order to, eyes in the sky to point things out, which that was a failure in and of itself. To say that they didn't have those resources is unbelievable because, even in some cases, we would have access to a drone where we didn't have enough eyes to have eyes on, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially what I was saying on the first part of that post is that, a big part of it is if you don't have the bodies, creating a path for the principal
Mm-hmm.
where they can get from point A to point B or get to point B, stay in point B without having someone with the capability of having line of sight.
Gotcha.
Right?
So so here you go on to say good-ish on the protectors who did their job after the fact, but looking at this tactically, whoever was in charge of the recon, planning, positioning, and prep for this, and the current POTUS and other principals under their care needs to be fired. Freaking amateur hour. And so we have a graphic here where we have the president over here. We have the that probably did the shot of neutralizing the target, and then we have potentially the second sniper. And this dude is within 130 yards. Now, I told you, Remy, we just went shooting with some SEALs in San Diego just a couple of days ago, and we were shooting 200 yards away with a scope, and had never shot before, and we're hitting like multiple hits out the rip, no training, just hopping on a scope, bang, 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 just you just hear the ding, ding, right? And so the fact that he was able to get this close to the president from your vantage point, 130 yards, which is a little further than a football field away, is you're saying like this is a complete security breach that anybody allowed this to happen?
100%. I mean, that's the equivalent of allowing somebody to go through TSA with a canister full of gasoline.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, come on, we're not going to check any liquid in there. No, I don't have any liquid in there. Okay, just go ahead. Right? Like, do anything, right? Yes, that was an absolute failure. That building, not just that building, not just that elevated position, but any and every elevated position that was in the line of sight.
It's interesting, and look, I have no military experience whatsoever, but it's interesting that Secret Service wasn't on the building where the sniper was. I don't know if that's I don't know. It's just like the building is within plain sight. You would think they would have that building covered. They would already have that building in their clear line of eyesight, which I guess they did. But like, it's weird they didn't have somebody up there too. You know what I'm saying? But then, down below. So to the right of the building, I don't know if you can see it down below on the right where the mouse is moving. I guess they had local police down there as well. So you have two snipers looking at the shooter. You have local police looking at the shooter. You have, as I've already explained, multiple eyewitnesses in the crowd who noticed the shooter well before shots were fired. And there was no action that was taken whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense.
Of the president, former president, should have been locked down. To not lock that down, especially within 150 yards, I mean, shoot, even go back to 300 yards, I mean, that's an absolute failure. Like that.
Yeah.
Like it
And
is.
that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, why wouldn't they have somebody on that building, like he's saying, to quote unquote lock it down? Why this building, which is clear in the line, this it's a straight on shot. It's a straight on shot. The fact that there was nobody on this building in any capacity, it doesn't make any sense. And also the fact that they didn't have a drone up. Like, okay, I get it. Well, I don't get it because this is a former president, and a lot of people are expecting him to be the president. So the fact that you don't have adequate staffing from a Secret Service standpoint is unbelievable. But then, okay, if you don't have adequate staffing, the fact that you don't have somebody operating a drone, because you could do that remotely. You could operate a drone. You don't have to be on location to operate a drone. You can operate a drone remotely. The fact that they don't have a remote drone operator to be the eye in the sky, it's just too many weird things that is hard to reconcile.
Way to cut it. And a site survey was done. I mean, this map that we're looking at now, those guys probably had better maps. Everybody had were all read into the location. They knew where everything was. So to not have to have that area dropped like that,
Yeah.
it's either absolute incompetence or intentional. It's a fine line between absolute or intentional, because that's just basic. That's just basic. It's like not allowing somebody to go up to the president with a hand in their hand, right?
Sure.
Could have done as much damage as a AR-15, if not, as an AR, 130 yards away with a scope.
Yep. Nope. Now we're going to talk about the incompetence section in a second. What is it true? I'm having trouble verifying this. Is it true that they could have potentially seen the and had to get clearance to engage, and were only able to engage after he first fired the because I've heard mixed things. I just heard Ben Shapiro say that, saying that's official Secret Service protocol, and then I'm hearing other people say no, they had clearance. When you see someone that's a threat, you have clearance to neutralize. Have you heard anything concrete about that from a policy standpoint?
Yeah, I can't speak to what the policy was, but I can speak to a connect who was on the ground, a connect to boots on the ground. And the word I got was on signal was, and I got photo, I think I shared one photo with you, that they had eyes on the target. They were alerted, right? And they requested permission to take the shot minutes before the shot.
Minutes before the shot. Wow.
So we said the same thing. We said, wow. What the heck?
Was denied.
Wait.
And that needs to be, and they requested permission to take the shot minutes before the shot.
Minutes before the shot. Wow.
But that request was denied. And that needs to be investigated as to why it was denied, because it makes absolutely no sense when you have a threat that's pointing, and which was identified not just by the sniper.
Yeah, they all need to be fired then. If that's truly the case, then they all need to be fired.
See that the dude had a long gun, right? So it's not just them, but it's the multiple civilians that were saying to cops and to everybody around.
Because at that point, who can you trust? And I know those calls are probably coming, and this is getting way into the weeds here, from a conspiracy standpoint. But at this point, if this is true, it's not even a conspiracy. Like the whole Secret Service team needs to be fired, because who can you trust? And a call like that is coming from a higher up, but still, who can you trust? You got to let them all go.
On the roof with a gun. It's a long, he's on the roof.
Yeah. We saw that. That was about 50 seconds that I saw, at least 50 seconds to a minute of them saying, yelling, pointing at the roof, saying he has a gun. and then you hear the shots ring out. So there was there was at least 50 seconds that we have video evidence of them yelling that.
But
Bro, imagine Trump really got hit, passes away, and all of this stuff comes out after the fact. Do you understand? We would literally be in like a civil war. Like, it would have been absolute chaos because there would be no denying that it was an inside job. Just think about that for a second.
the reason why the snipers were able to take him out within seconds was because they had eyes on him. See, in a lot of situations when you're in combat, and I've been in these situations, as soon as those bullets start flying your way, you don't know exactly where they're coming from. It takes time to acquire the target, right? Whether it's through a muzzle flash, whether it's through having a drone overhead, it takes like it could take significant amount of time to identify where the target is. They didn't have to find the target at all. That's why within seconds of.
But here's the thing. The sniper, they ask for permission to engage. It's declined. At that point, wouldn't you remove Trump from the stage once you identify that his life is in danger? Because the shot hasn't been taken yet, but they've identified a shooter on the roof. They're asking for permission to engage. The permission is declined. How come he's still on the stage? When there's minutes that have gone by where you could have removed him from the stage, you still left him on stage knowing that his life was in danger. The more you look into the story, the more it's like, bro, 100% it was an inside job. 100%. Because, okay, if you're not going to allow them to engage, then how come you're not taking them off the stage? Very simple. Take them off the stage. Not only that, but innocent people actually lost their life. Innocent people actually lost their life. And it could have all have been prevented, and they were requesting to prevent it.
He was dead. He was gone. That's why I don't know if you remember when the Secret Service jumped on stage and they moved around the microphone. You hear one of the Secret Service or police officers say, "Shoot down, shoot down."
Right.
We're talking about 20, 30 seconds after
quick.
that Trump was shot at.
It was quick.
Right? So what does that say? That confirms what I was told. And what I was told was that the had his target, had his location pinpointed, had sights on the target, and requested to take action. That request was denied for whatever reason. I don't know why it was denied, but that request was denied. However, once the shooter, the sniper took action.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think there's going to be hopefully a very thorough investigation into what happened here. Let's go to the incompetence angle. We were talking a little bit offline about the new, I think, director of the Secret Service and her having a pretty viral clip saying that, they wanted 30% of the Secret Service to be women in this whole thing. And in this clip, you pointed out just some basic fundamental breakdowns in terms of the very basics of what's supposed to happen. So I'm gonna play the clip and then we can kind of react to everything here. We got two clips. We got a wider angle and we got this close-up angle. The wider angle we'll look at in a second. So this is immediately after they're getting him up. And what do you see What do you see as
One,
the issue here with this?
pause it before they even get him up. See how he's not able to, he's not covered at any point. He should be. Well, now he's not. His front is not covered. That is a kill right there. Still a kill shot. Still a kill shot. Still a kill shot. Still a kill shot because this girl who's in front of him is not big enough to cover him. She doesn't. She's not big enough to provide cover for this guy. Right. The job of the Secret Service is to create a wall around him, so that no shooter has a shot, or if a shooter takes a shot, they don't know. They don't know if they're going to hit the target. He's not covered at all. He's perfectly visible at this point. So if there was another sniper, if that first sniper was just more so a distraction, and there was another sniper who was straight ahead, like, all right, he's gone. Trump's gone. And that hand up there ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if it were a professional team that were trying to carry out this job, and let's say there was multiple snipers, the first shot is a distraction, and then the second one, you have multiple opportunities to get back. And it almost makes sense that it was an amateur who took the shot, because if it were to be too clean, there would be a ton of questions. If it was too calculated, you almost have to make it seem like it was just some deranged, crazy person, which it was. But at the same time, that would be the best alibi. If you were to set something like this up, the best alibi would be, oh, this person was just deranged and crazy and was bullied his entire life and didn't like Trump's politics, just didn't like Trump, was just fascinated with doing it and just got so fed up and just did it, as opposed to actually having a professional team come in and take care of it, because it was there for the taking, if you know what I mean, especially based on the incompetence of the secret security or Secret Service. Top flight security. That's what they might as well be. It's top flight, Paul Blart. That's essentially what they were doing.
That hand up there is not doing anything because
She literally put her hand in front of his face. Like it would go right through her hand and just into, you know what I'm saying?
That hand almost as much as the pass through his ear and hit a victim.
Wow.
Yeah, you see this guy holding up a hand because she, like you said, she's just not big enough.
He's
unfortunately.
Not big and he's, from what I understand, he's 6'3". He's a big dude. So not only do you need somebody who's tall, you need somebody that looks, that's a right there. You need somebody who can physically push him down and say, hey, get down, right? And physically do that. She can't do that, right? And, it's just like if I was on an op somewhere and I get my leg gets blown off. She ain't going to be able to carry me out of the combat zone. I remember in training, Jocko when he put us through land warfare, he would kill like half the platoon. He would say, you're down, you're down, you're down, you're down. And so the other half of the platoon would have to carry out the dead dudes and still continue the fight. And we're talking about 110 degrees outside, full kit, body armor, and everything. Guys that should be around the president, that size president, 6'3", 200-something pounds, needs to be freaking knuckle draggers.
They gotta be big.
Who can control the president, manhandle the president. He's still exposed, and keep him down. He's still exposed right here.
Yeah, this makes no sense. Like why is her head down?
I think this is a lot of the reason why people think that it was like staged on Trump's side of it, because of the optics as he came out. Like the optics for him were very beneficial in the standpoint of it gave him an appearance of extreme strength and bravery. And it's just like, these are things that you just don't do. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody shoots at you, you're a president, your immediate response is not to hop up and expose yourself, you know? So I think I get why people say that, but at the same time, it's like you also got to understand like that type of shot that was taken, that placement, you don't stage that type of stuff. I don't think the best shooters in the world could carry out that type of shot if it were to be staged on Trump's side. And also, this is his own supporters. His supporters lost their life. So if he were to stage something like this, let's just think this through. If he were to stage something like this, then they would have to go into it knowing that there would be a potential that his own supporters would lose their life. Just a thought.
And there's another clip similar to that, but from the back, right when he's down, and it's still happening, where another female Secret Service agent ducks behind the president.
Oh my gosh!
There's a photo. It was all over social media, but she ducks down behind the president instead of being up to cover him.
And you can't necessarily blame them for ducking because they shouldn't be in that position in the first place. You got to blame the hiring manager who put them in that position because it's natural as a human being to duck down when you're being shot at. That's natural. Okay? But guess what? Not everybody is equipped to be in the Secret Service. So from a hiring manager perspective, your job is to identify the people who are unequipped and to disqualify those people because they're not fit for the job. They're going to get the president hurt and they're going to get themselves hurt. It's a lose-lose situation. But we want this whole diversity and equity and inclusion, but there's just certain jobs where that does not work out. That doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. And that's for the best of everybody. And this is what happens when you put people in positions that they're not supposed to be in.
Yeah. So here we have the one of the Secret Service agents who is going to have trouble holstering her.
He's still exposed for real. Like you see his head right here. He's legitimately still exposed.
Yep.
Which I never thought I would see this. She pulls it out.
She's
holding it.
There's another angle we can't find where she's sweeping. She swept somebody.
And right there, she could not get it in.
Has to look down to holster it. Still can't holster it. You shouldn't have to look down to holster your gun. Okay? These people, she's focusing on her sunglasses and her jacket over to the right.
Hold on, I got to pull it. This is bad, man.
More worried about their sunglasses and jacket than they are what's going on here. It's an absolute circus, man. It's an absolute circus. He should have been moved out of there 10 times faster than what happened. And I'm not against women in combat roles or in combat positions. My thing is, can you do the job? And that's one of the things I love about SEAL training. It's like, hey, if you can make it through SEAL training, you could be a SEAL. Male, female, black, white, whoever. You got to make it through the crucible, right?
Now,
and so,
have any women made it through SEAL training?
No.
Okay.
Women have gotten into SEAL training, but not one woman's made it through SEAL training.
After the incredible success of our Bless God.
Wow. I'm sorry, bro. I gotta skip the ad, bro. Y'all can go to the Bless God shop if you want to get it, but sorry, bro.
Not to, play Monday morning quarterback. Like, you're giving your assessment as a SEAL, as a professional, as someone that's been in high stress situations like this, that's something, at the very least, something is fishy here. Something's going on. We hope it's incompetence. We hope that there's just a breakdown of proper protocol and the right checks and balances. But what would your overall assessment be?
Yeah, I lean more towards incompetence. I lean more towards this is absolute horrible recruiting, horrible training, laziness, and maybe a little bit of, oh well, he's the former president, and so you don't have to give him everything that he needs to stay protected, right?
Mm.
And whatever happens, right? I think it's a combination of things, but I lean more toward. I think I said this to you online. I think there's a very fine line. It's a fine line between incompetence
Hmm.
and essentially like intentionality, where
Hmm.
this was an intent, right?
Yeah, but who's at my door at 2 in the morning? Oh, it's my dog. Yeah, but why? I keep going back to this. How come they didn't take him off the stage when they recognized the threat? Okay, you don't get the approval to engage. Okay, how come you don't take him off the stage at that point? I don't know, man.
It's a very fine, thin line, right? Because so many balls were dropped. I mean, the biggest ball that's an absolute no brainer. We're talking about the Secret Service, a high functioning government agency that's tasked to not just protect former presidents, but the current president, the first ladies, kids. The kids are the presidents,
Hmm.
and to drop these many balls, dude, it's egregious, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were looking at. You even pointed out that some of those iconic photos that they got of him, that even that was an overreach of them letting photographers get that
Oh,
close
100%.
in the middle of a
100%.
live situation.
100%. Like I don't know if that video, you still have that video where I pointed that out, but
Hmm.
when everything goes down, you see. I know it's one photographer with a round, like top hat on, a sun hat on, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I seen it.
He moves from one end of the below the stage to the other. There's a shot, like a famous shot of Trump, like this down,
Hmm. Hmm.
huddle,
Hmm.
right? If that guy was a secondary or tertiary, member of the hit team,
Hmm.
he would have gotten a shot off. He would have been able to get a shot off, right?
Yeah,
He moved into a better position. He got a shot off, but it was a picture, right?
yeah, yeah.
He got a lot of shots off, right? But imagine if what he had in his hand wasn't a camera, but instead was a,
Mm.
not just
Yeah,
on that one close up, but also when Trump has his fist up and when he's moving and all that other
right.
stuff. Imagine if that was a gun,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They're
You
super
know,
close to him. Super close to him.
super close. Everybody should have been freaking locked down. It should have been a wall put up against him. And I hear people say, oh, well, they didn't have enough Secret Service. I get that. But you know what they did have? They had a whole battalion of police officers. And
Mm.
typically the way it works is those police officers augment and help the Secret Service,
Yeah,
which is understandably. But however, from what I understand, the police officers answer to the Secret Service,
yeah.
right? And so in this particular position, they had the bodies, but it was just nobody. There was no command and control. There was no
Mm.
command and control. I think that there's one video where you hear one of the Secret Service agents while they're up on the stage say, "What do we do now? What do we do now?" Or
Mm.
something like that. Again, I'm
Hmm.
paraphrasing, but it was
Yeah,
something
no, we
like
heard
that.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, hey, get him down, got him down, keep his head down. All right, we're moving this way. There was nobody that was making decisions.
Yeah.
You block them off, block off the cameraman. Don't let anybody get by. Right? There was no command and control. There was nobody that really took charge. And a
Yeah.
lot of that comes from lack of training, lack of really.
I don't know why I always thought that presidents had the same Secret Service crew that they rolled with. I didn't think it was so fluid. I thought it was just like the same core group of people, the same like, head of security, quote unquote, and like the same leadership within your Secret Service detail that traveled with you and that remained with you. I didn't think it was so fluid like this.
training was like, all right, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. Now, I also did hear that, and this hasn't been confirmed, but that most of the people there weren't Secret Service, or some of the people there weren't Secret Service. They were actually, Homeland Security that were augmented Secret Service. Okay, well, how are you going to allow them to do that if they don't have the proper training? And it showed that nobody knew what they were. Most people up there didn't really know what they were doing. It took them a hell of a long time to get him to that vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you think this goes from here? I mean, the RNC is this week. After a situation like this, where there's a clear security breach, perhaps some incompetence, perhaps some bad protocol, in the coming weeks, obviously they're going to try to beef up security and all that kind of stuff. But how are they going to maneuver and how are they going to move? You got 4 months until the election. He's clearly ahead in all the polls, right? Ahead in most of the swing states. How do you see them moving forward? And how did they even, like, did they get him a new security detail? Did they restructure? Like, how do they? What are you anticipating is going to happen over the next couple weeks, months?
From what I heard, there's going to be a hearing tomorrow, and the head of the Secret Service is going to be the person at that hearing. And I think what needs to happen is she needs to be fired. She needs to be fired. Everybody that was in the chain of command that was tied to Saturday needs to be fired. And I'm not talking about like boots on the ground. I'm talking about the decision makers, the people who were in charge of the site survey / recon, the people who were in charge of the prep. Those decision makers need to be let go. They need to create new protocols for communication, because from what I also understand, that there was a breakdown in communication because some of the police weren't on the same net or same frequency as the Secret Service. Right? So they need to come up with a completely new comms plan, which that's what I would expect that would happen. They need to hand select who is going to be on not just Trump's detail, but Biden's detail, Obama's detail, Bush's detail. They need to do a complete revamp and say, okay, we need the best Secret Service agents on these people, and we need Secret Service agents that can match the size and strength of the principals. Right? So that's what needs to happen. And then from here on out, wherever any president or former president is going, there needs to be a very in-depth, detailed site survey of not just the X, but everything around the X in a 500-yard radius or more.
Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, it's just, you're talking about just a few centimeters, and we could be having a totally different conversation. The country
100.
could be in a totally different spot right now.
He turned his head to say something, and that passed by. So when he turned his head at that very moment, that's what saved his life.
Yeah.
If he didn't turn his head when he did, be a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the shit sucked." Oh, the shit. I mean, one, what I wasn't a sniper, but I was when I was a corpsman before I went into the SEAL teams. I was attached to a scout sniper platoon as a medic, and what they traditionally teach, especially for long range shooting, is you shoot body. Why? Because it's easier to hit body than it is to hit a head. You know what I mean? And so, for this shooter to have, in my opinion, this is my opinion, to have been that close to be able to knock off the president's head and blow his brains out, that was not a bad shot. I mean, 130 yards, yeah, I mean, it's easy, but I'm talking about, that's not a bad shot for an amateur. Right? And that's not a bad shot for an amateur, because he would have hit Trump if Trump didn't turn his head. When he turned his head to say whatever he was saying to address the crowd at that point, he turned his head. And what I think, I got to watch the video again, but what I think happened, and I could be 100% wrong on this, so I just want to preface that first before I say what I'm going to say. What I think happened was the pulled the trigger, and just as he pulled the triggers when that turn happened.
Wow.
and then that went past him, and that's what saved his life. That's life.
Yeah.
So now, unfortunately, somebody else, took that,
Yeah.
and that's why you hear some people. It's crazy how people are just so like this whole political stuff is just ridiculous because people are just so like stuck on their base, or stuck on one side.
Yeah.
I hear so many people out there like, oh, this was all like staged by Trump. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Ain't no one getting their head that close to a flying man.
Yeah. But then you had a lot of people saying what they say. They said, oh, it was. They tried to minimize it, but it wasn't the bullet that hit him. It was a fragment from the teleprompter. The bullet hit the teleprompter, and it was a piece of glass from the teleprompter. And that was just their way of, because a news reporter reported that, but that was been debunked because the police and everybody was shown, and even the doctor who saw him, it was that took it. A glass from a shrapnel from a teleprompter is not going to do that. And so it was it wasn't glass from a teleprompter.
Yeah.
So everybody out there trying to minimize it and say, well, he didn't almost lose his life because it was just glass from a teleprompter. If the glass hit him, he would have still been fine. Like, no, it was because that bullet found someone else.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if it was that bullet that killed the firefighter.
Yeah. I think his name was Corey. Yeah.
God bless his soul. But there were two other people that were hit as well.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, they were. I don't know if they still are in critical condition. But that wasn't a piece of glass from a teleprompter that went past Trump, took his ear, and then either killed somebody or put somebody in critical condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Scary.
Jeez Louise, man. It's 2:30 in the morning. Man, I don't know what to think anymore. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. All right, yeah. Oh my gosh. It's 2:30 in the morning. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. I'm out.